All right, good morning. Let's get this boring market show on the road going here. I don't know if anything's going to happen today. Quite honestly, I think everyone's just waiting for the next tweet. So the little trading range that the markets have been in, and for about a week and a half now, continue to exist. So we'll look at the other markets as we always do, and see if we see any differences or get any other information that would suggest otherwise. So what happened in the S&Ps, we're looking at the cash here because Trader McGraw likes to play Iron Condors on them. So I decided we'll take a look at this for him. And, same scenario as yesterday, this level here, probably this being a little closer to that prior bottoming tail bar that held yesterday. May not be such a good point today as far as holding, unless it was to get above today's high. Right? So you may want to wait for that. Otherwise, using strikes down below that prior one there with, a wider range of what to use for spreads on either side of support and resistance. So that's where we're at here. We're still just waiting for what? I'm not so sure, other than just the consolidation at price resistance, as this is chopping around here. What we always do as part of our factory work, and we come into the markets, whether it's the market or a stock that we're looking at, our first point of support is the prior day's low, and the first point of resistance is the prior day's high. So, okay, does it trade above or below yesterday's high or low today? And that would give us some indication of change. So you've got a larger, let's say a larger void or reference point to move. There's some eyeball. Yeah, this, I would say larger, because this support here, there's really not much of anything of significance before getting down here. Whereas if it was to trade above this area here, well, then maybe it can move up to the top of that level. Either way, unless some news hits the market to really get it moving one way or the other, it just doesn't seem like there's much reason to think that there's going to be a move of some significance. Now, significance is relative, meaning on an intraday point of view, it could be significant for something to play as it breaks this level here, playing to down here. But we stay objective about what the probabilities are based on the chart at hand versus what we think. Just kind of wishes as to what we'd like to happen versus what charts tell us is likely to happen. So there we have there with the S&Ps, looking at the spiders, it's going to be the same thing, give or take. But, it held that low. It doesn't look exactly the same because, you get the gaps here in the spiders. So I think this is a more accurate reference point. So we've got resistance up here. Prices have kind of ground up into there overnight, and you've got yesterday's low prior to this low down here. So again, we have a scenario where it really isn't offering something of what I would suggest a great opportunity to take advantage of prices moving one way or another. So we said that yesterday, and I think that was pretty good recommendation to stay out of, the chop unless you're pretty nimble. When the charts don't give you a bias that there is something of a great probability of moving in one direction or the other, well, we shouldn't expect it until things set up. Now, I kind of like, well, what would have to happen for that to, to get a better opportunity here? I think, as well, we'll look at the futures, it's more fluid because, they're trading overnight. You get better patterns. But anyway, I think what has to happen is maybe a couple of more days of, if it trades sideways within this range to get away from the immediate reference points, the void, right? This void that we talk about is created by price movement, rapid price movement, and time. So we've got some of the rapid price movement, as things moved down last Friday, the turn began last Thursday, and then it came down on Friday. And so yesterday was a bit of a grinder, and it's up a little bit here today. So maybe some chopping back and forth here, that would create a pattern that would then give us something better than what it is right now as to the possibility of a more significant move. So we'll see how that unfolds. And we have the cues. Same, kind of always completely the same thing, but the patterns have been similar. So you got this support that it's held over here, and that moved up yesterday. Some people, I think, traded that in the chat room. This retest area down here, it popped up a little bit. So now it's hanging here. It had the void up above, but now we've got this double top, and so now it's created some new overhead support. And it's got this resistance. It's just a low probability pattern. Now, that being said, this still has a decent void because of the wide range bar. So if it can get above this area here, right, well, that does open up the possibility for a long setup on the Qs or the NQs into the void. So, and down below, well, it's got to break yesterday's low, and that isn't very far away. So back to the same scenario of a consolidation that's going on after a deep retracement, which is bullish, and it's just consolidating sideways at resistance. So while it's not a pleasure sitting through this choppy price action at the moment, there's nothing we can do about it but wait for it to develop into something else. S&Ps, you can see the better looking of the not so good looking anything, but it held and it's up a little bit. It's up into this resistance, and you look at the hourly chart and you say, better looking than what? A horror story? It's just a mess of overlapping bars within this range here. So don't play with it, unless you're nimble and you want to do a scalping type situation where, here we've got this little base here. And if it breaks below here, it certainly could start to break lower. But, there's reference points there, and, same story, just, it's kind of pattern that you're more likely to get chopped up in. But look, if you're quick, you're nimble, you can deal, with it. You can go to smaller time frames and say, all right, well, here is, this section of it where we have this support resistance zone, another little trading range going on here. If it started to hung here, let's say sideways in this 10 o'clock reversal period, and it starts to break, and you want to trade between here and down here, maybe take some profits, maybe it goes lower. If it can clear the highs, well, now you got a long bias looking for it to go up, but going up isn't very far. So we're back to the same thing as to opportunities here as far as trading the broader markets aren't that attractive. Qs, same story. Right? Sideways, bottoming kind of pattern going on here. Actually did bottom out, came up. It's going sideways at resistance. So, you got a topping tail with a red bar. It's not breaking down yet. Doesn't mean it won't, but it's not breaking down yet. And this little dip there, did result, you could see it was actually a little breakdown. So it was a downside shakeout that resulted in a move up. And then the topping tail, and, will that be an upside shakeout? Is it going to break down? And so we have patterns here that are suggestive of a little bit of bullish price action, but it's not an amazing kind of situation where the daily chart is one in which if we were getting this pattern and it had pulled back to an area of support and it was in an uptrend, and now the 60-minute was lined up to create a bottom and a pullback into a nice uptrend, that would be a great opportunity. But look, if this is going to clear these highs here, as a day trader, this is definitely, tradable. But as I've said before, just recognize what you're dealing with here. That's all. That's all. Recognize what you're dealing with. And, there's a lot of uncertainty going on. YM looks similar to the Qs. Most of the time, it looks more like the S&Ps, but resistance is right up there, not very far away, so not a very attractive pattern either. Russell chopping around, right? Tipped down there, back up, chopping around. Actually, the better of the patterns in that the strength of the move up and this pullback and holding here. So if it could get above, this area, right? That area there, you could consider longs, right? So here's your momentum move to the downside, right? The price fluid momentum move creates part of the void. This is your time correction, your downside shakeout. So far, it's consolidating at resistance. It's got to confirm, right? So we've got the makings of a bottoming type of a pattern here. But if it can clear here, well, now there's the possibility of it moving up to at least here. And maybe it goes further. That's the unknown. But we do know that sellers stepped up here and buyers stepped up here. And so we'll see which way it goes. Oil. Craziness, right? There's the Saudi news. Right back down the next day, chopping around here. Trading range going on, right? Trading ranges. That's what we're dealing with. Bonds up a bit on the day, coming up into the sell zone, right? Declining 20. There's overlapping bars right there. Right, we looked at this yesterday. Here's that reversal there, and now the question becomes, does this, right? We looked at this yesterday morning as it went up. I said there's going to be sellers there, and they did, but they couldn't crack the trend on the hourly. So now that we're getting the retest, if it can't get above here and turns down, M top, that would be supportive of, of this bias that this could pop up because, interest rates then moving up. Maybe these could come up. YM would not be the one that would be more interesting, right? A better opportunity. But the Qs and the Russell, not so much the ES, but because it's closer to the resistance, but the Qs and the Russell would be the ones that I would consider going to. Gold, right? Bottom, we looked at this yesterday, kind of chopping around here. Now, if bonds should fall in where interest rates are going to go up, markets start percolating to the upside, gold is probably not going to do much. It doesn't mean it has to go down a lot, but maybe it'll be consolidating the gains from the last couple of days. And silver, right, that was a winner yesterday, and now it's actually coming down a little faster. So I think that's about it. Looking at some currencies here, not so attractive. One of them, which one was no, it was Canadian. I was looking at kind of a mess. Nothing's great anywhere, tell you the truth. But that doesn't mean we don't look. It doesn't mean we don't look around. You know, when the markets we typically trade, right, get erratic and more difficult, there's nothing wrong with going to another market to trade it where it might be trending. Right? We don't care what we trade, right? Because our method is applicable to anything that we can chart. So our interpretation is exactly the same. I don't care if it's a currency. I don't care if it's soybeans or Apple Computer or the S&P 500. It's all the same thing to us. But the ones with the cleanest patterns are the ones that are going to present the best opportunities for us to make what we would call easy money or relatively easy money. So there you have it. All yours, Daniel.
All right. Thank you. Good morning. I don't see any problem with children, but I'll still go through the opens here real quick. On the weekly, BABA's our only open one. Had an ugly day yesterday. We have the 175s. We're getting a nice gap up here today on some type of news. I don't know what it is. So hopefully we can go into that intelligent hope mode, and that holds the melting ice cube for Friday. Swing and options trader, CPRT. We bought this little breakout right there. The weekly is still fine. Delta Kilo. We bought this 1, 2, 3, 4. It retraced, held 50%. Kind of dead money here, but the pattern, nothing to do. ENPH. We have a put spread. EPC, long stock. On that pullback to support, bottoming tails, Hess. Short 65 put, still out of the money. And that expires this Friday. Kilo covered call, dead money, but at least the short call is giving us some positive time decay. LII was a sell setup that triggered yesterday. We're short stock. MR, it's getting close to the stop here, but you know what? I might raise the stop another dime or so, or at least to break even, because this might have the looks of it's going to make a new low and then reverse. But you know, we still have a nice open profit in it. Oscar Charlie, in the housing sector, we got a put spread and covered call. SITC, if I can type. We did a half lot right here. It's a beautiful weekly monthly. And maybe yesterday's high would do the back half. Teradyne, we have a bull call debit spread. TERP, long stock. TYL, covered call. Finally, whiskey, covered call, core trade. Yeah, we've been in this one for a while, ever since this gap out of this bull flag right there. Nice. Let's look at some news and gappers. Mighty Mo, you know, they're going after him now. Formal investigation into that jewel stuff. We had a nice short on that recently. It's kind of amazing to me, but this is just another example of how the markets are forward-looking. They price in all available news, which is they've been on strike, I think, for 9 days now, whatever it is, losing almost $100 million a day. The stock's not getting beat up, you know. So they're pricing in the harm that's being caused and the likelihood of it settling and what the financial implications are going to be for all those actions. But for us, there's no pattern, so I'm deleting you. EXTR, I like this. Today's Tuesday. I like this over Friday's high. We need a pullback. That's a strong stock, all time frames. TWO, we were stalking yesterday. That's still on my long list. Overstock. Remember these 2 days we said we did not have a potent reversal. Now it's nasty. Now it's gapping up. It's still a total mess. AIM looks like a penny stock toy. Bullish gap. You know, trading those penny stocks, as long as they're liquid and you get a compelling pattern, then you trade them the same way. Just day trade them when you get a nice pattern. That's all. Len was on my list from yesterday, and the ITB is strong. Kern, another penny stock toy. You're gone. GPI. I like this little bull flag. Here's my flag pole. Here's my consolidation. 100% retracement. Ideally, this would give us a 1, 2, 3 for Thursday. McDonald's, nasty collapse here, but now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days building a base of support over time. So over yesterday's high is a put spread idea, McGraw. Buds and ADR gapping down. Win gapping up. I think I got some type of upgrade, but there's no there's no pattern at all. Maybe though, with the upgrade, maybe 30-minute high could be a condor. Oh, that just reminded me, condor. I never opened up our MIC. We have a MIC condor. I'll have to. It's in the pending, but I never moved it up into the open category, so I will do that this morning. NIO 221 bearish gap. Penny stock. Snap, we're in. Target is high 17s. I sent a telegram to move the stop. Here, let me give it to you all. Because I did it pre-market. I'll put Snap here to keep an eye on them. I'm also watching this Roku to see if we can get a turn. There's still no potent turn whatsoever, so I'm not going to be in a rush. NEOG, 68 bucks, way the heck down here. But not a great pattern. KMX had earnings, gap breakout, 90. It's a bullish gap. I would love, this would be a tier 1 gap if it were gapping to 88 bucks, and then we'd buy a 5-minute high. That would be textbook. Do y'all see that? Just a gap breakout right there over all of this mess after a bullish engulfing, deep into resistance, price void. Still looks higher, but you know, it's $2 more into my target is the problem. And Jable, beautiful, beautiful engulfing buy setup. This looks fantastic. Gapping up here though. So look at this pre-market. This would have also been tier 1 if it were gapping just to the low 32s or even a little less. All right, I got Roku on my other screen, so I'm going to put Jable here. AZO earnings 11.58. There's nothing there. That's totally garbage for me. McGraw, what's AZO's cousin? I think we were looking at him yesterday, and he looked good. AAP, there you go. Yeah, nothing there, but it looks like he's up. He's popping in sympathy, they call it, with the other. There's our Baba Gap. BlackBerry. I didn't know these guys were still in business. Has anybody, they don't even make Blackberries, right? So my guess is the only reason they're in business is some residual technology that somebody finds some value in. But the product is what we call a dead animal. Modems aren't, it's a dead animal, and that they had to salvage whatever they could out of it. But whatever's happening today, the market is not liking it. Wow, look at that. Wow. Look, it has been a dead animal. When did the iPhone come out? My guess, I forget when the iPhone came out, 10 or 11, something like that, or 9 or 10. But I'll bet it coincides with a beautiful sell setup on this. Our gold from yesterday, Xilinx has been a dog. SEDG I still like. It needs to go sideways. It's to all-time highs. Bottoming pattern here, McGraw. Algin over the high, over Friday's high looks fine. And this had a breakout. Beautiful weekly. Let's see if it can go sideways a little bit. These are all leftover trades. That has to pull back. EPRT has to consolidate. Cone has been a beast. Clack. I've been watching this for 1, 2, 3, 4 days now on doing a put spread. And look at that, gapping up to all-time highs. Look at that thing. That is nice. IRT is still a valid trade over the highs. A newer day trade over yesterday's high. SPWR, another solar that I'm looking to get on board. It's not an ideal entry right here at all, but this 1, 2, 3 did trigger, and then 1, 2, 3 consolidation bars. But look at the monthly. Monthly, I had a big target of 20 bucks. $5 on a $15 chart is how much, McGraw? You're going to see KMX pulling in here. So maybe 30-minute high on this PWR. Yep, a third, exactly. HUA needs to pull in, but I love the weekly breakout. I'm noticing on my other screen, ITB is perking here. That was on our long list yesterday, so that's housing, obviously. So we got Lennar would be a 1, 2, 3 if it closed here. A beautiful 1, 2, 3 with this gap reversal. I love gap reversals. What else do we got? Remember Dollar General was on my list yesterday. That's perking. But market actually given up their pre-market, bullishness right here. So still a total mess. I'm not, the last couple of days you saw how boring we were in the trade department. We got a covered call here, looking good.
I think the market coming in here, obviously Dan is correct, but you've got the futures in this trading range, and so far they they haven't broken down yet. So the thing is, the futures and the Qs and spiders, the ETFs, are out of alignment, meaning their patterns and trends. So the gap up, looking at the Qs and spiders, is a bullish gap. They gapped above resistance. Selling is happening on the gap. So the thing is to look to see, do buyers step up at the top of the support point? If you're looking at a 5-minute chart, if it pulls back into there, or maybe builds support above that. And if you are looking at the futures, what needs to happen is if those buyers begin to step up at that support, the futures charts will become more bullish, which they're neutral to negative at the moment. meaning 24-hour chart versus a day chart with a gap. So until they come into alignment, historically, things tend to be a bit choppy. Maybe meaning this market seems to have been choppy every day, but just from the context of looking at day charts, 9:30 to 4 o'clock versus 24-hour charts, the ideal scenario of trading those instruments is when the futures and the ETFs or day chart are in alignment. Now, you can look at the futures as a day chart as well. But when they're lined up, that's when things tend to trend and move in a more fluid way.
I'm just posting this Iron Condor from yesterday.